The thing that I've been doing lately, it's these hedge lines with trees in them.
Cool.
It's you do like a double hedge line if you have the space, single hedge line if you don't.
I love that.
And then you put trees every now and then in between. There's something called I'm gonna look this up real quick so I don't screw up his name.
Yeah, go for it.
Would make me feel a little.
I like that, man. It gives you privacy, and fruit.
Yeah.
Is that the idea?
Well, so first of all, this is embarrassing. So there's Miyazaki, who does all like the wonderful films, Princess Mononoke, Howl's Moving Castle, stuff like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But there's Akira Miyawaki, who was a brilliant Japanese ecologist, and he developed a reforesting method that's pretty heavily used in the equatorial world and in much of Asia today. And it's a reforesting method that involves dense plantings of trees. It's actually really a 3-layer process where first you do trees, you allow them to compete, you start selecting out, you start putting in shrubs the second year, and then the third year you start putting in your forbs, your grasses, your flowers, things like that, as the trees start to gain height, and you keep selecting out until it develops a natural forest system. So there's an inspiration there.
Cool.
I often design my systems for succession, which there's a little controversy there, but quite frankly, isn't the point of this to create a landscape, a true landscape? And it's
a landscape.
These dense planting of trees in the in the hedge lines, which creates these nice windbreaks, pesticide blocks, and also creates wonderful habitat. And so if you hedge out your property and you put in these trees, and then you can start putting in your fruit trees on the inner line. There's even other things you can do. You can build up a berm. This is something we talked about doing at my partner's house, but going a different direction.
To have the water.
You set up a large berm, maybe about 2 feet high, maybe 3 feet wide, and that's where you plant your native shrubs and trees. You ring the property. Then on the inner layer, and again, maybe 1 foot high, and again, that's where you put your a mix of shrubs and like real producers. Your jackfruit, your mangoes, your avocados, stuff that just creates tons of stuff. And then you put in a smaller native hedge line with the small native trees. You have stuff like the blollies, the ironwoods, things like that. And what it does is that creates kind of a very productive edge. Creates an edge effect, but it also creates for your property, again, there's that windbreak and that pesticide break, anything. There's also something called integrated pest management, IPM. And so what happens is you're creating an ecosystem where birds love people's crops a lot of times. But if you have some of these natives, they'll go for that first. Right. It's also you're bringing in birds that might be nesting. And what do nesting birds want? They don't want berries, because it's just carbs.
They want
and
caterpillars.
Fiber. They want caterpillars. They want insects. They want food for their young. Creating that system also brings in, especially if you create that final flower layer on the inside. And I'm saying you can do this in any agro, permaculture, regenerative gardening, whatever it is. You can pop this in. You can even pop it in on smaller scale.
Cool.
And then you get those predatory insects in there.
Let's go.
The gross stuff I have seen happen, everything from like caterpillars to Sri Lankan beetle, to like the gross stuff I've seen happen to pests in my yard is something to behold. You ever seen the caterpillars with the little worms coming out?
Yeah.
And that's the sarcopid or bracopid wasps. They're laying eggs inside the caterpillar.
That's right. They like the gaillardia, I think.
And a lot of the small wildflowers, the small meadow wildflowers, help support the predatory insects. Yeah. Dragonflies, ladybugs. I mean, those are famous, world famous.
Yeah. Beautiful, Dane. Integrated pest management.
Hey guys, so if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe below. And we'll see you in the next one.